There is a moment in every man's life when attraction quietly turns into something deeper, something he can't fully explain, but also can't ignore. It doesn't always begin with grand gestures or perfect timing. Sometimes it starts in the smallest, most unnoticed details. The way you listen without rushing to fix him. The way your presence feels calm even when his world is loud. The way you don't compete with his life, but somehow become a soft part of it without forcing your way in. And here's what most people don't realize. A man doesn't fall madly in love just because someone is beautiful or interesting. He falls when he starts feeling something rare in today's world: emotional ease. That feeling of being accepted without having to perform, impress, or constantly prove his worth. When he can simply be himself around you, without fear of judgment or pressure, something inside him slowly relaxes. And in that relaxation, attachment begins to grow. But there is another layer that makes it even stronger. It's when you are not predictable in a boring way, but real in a human way. Some days you are warm and playful, other days calm and thoughtful, and sometimes you are just present without trying too hard to entertain. That natural emotional rhythm keeps him mentally engaged. He doesn't just see you, he starts feeling you even when you are not around. And slowly, without dramatic moments, you become part of his thoughts. Not because you are chasing him, but because something about you feels different from everything else he has experienced. A man doesn't always realize the exact moment it happens, but one day he notices he is thinking about you more than he expected, and by then, it's already deeper than attraction. Emotional safety is one of those things that doesn't look dramatic from the outside, but inside a man's heart, it changes everything. A man can be confident in many areas of life: work, responsibilities, friendships, but still feel vulnerable when it comes to his emotions. He may not always show it, but he carries stress, pressure, expectations, and sometimes even silent insecurities. And in that hidden emotional world, what he needs most is a place where he can simply be himself without fear of judgment, criticism, or rejection. When a woman creates that kind of space, something powerful starts to happen. He begins to relax around her. He doesn't feel the need to act overly strong or pretend everything is fine all the time. He can share his thoughts honestly, even if they are messy or unclear. He can be quiet without feeling pressured to explain everything, and he can express his emotions without worrying that it will be used against him later. That feeling of, I can just be me here, is rare for many men, and when they find it, they don't take it lightly. Emotional safety is not about agreeing with everything he says or ignoring problems. It's about the way you respond. It's about not making him feel small when he opens up. It's about listening without immediately judging or attacking his character. Even your tone, your patience, and your understanding energy play a huge role. A man notices these things more than you think, even if he doesn't say it directly. Over time, this safe emotional space becomes something he starts to look for again and again. When he has a stressful day, his mind naturally thinks of the person where he feels calm. When something goes wrong, he doesn't just look for solutions, he looks for comfort. And slowly, without forcing anything, he begins to attach emotionally because his nervous system feels at ease around you. And here's the deeper truth. A man may forget compliments, gifts, or even short moments of attraction, but he does not forget how a woman made him feel emotionally. If he feels accepted in his weakest moments, he starts associating you with peace. And when someone becomes your peace in a chaotic world, they stop being just a person and start becoming a place you return to in your mind and heart. That is why emotional safety is not just important, it is the foundation of deep, lasting attachment. Respect is one of the deepest emotional needs a man carries, even if he doesn't talk about it often. And it's important to understand something clearly here. Attention and respect are not the same thing. A man can get attention from many people, but respect that feels genuine and steady is rare. And when he finds a woman who respects who he is at his core, not just what he gives, provides, or does, his emotional connection to her becomes much stronger and more serious. A man's identity is tied to how capable, valued, and understood he feels in the world. He is often measured by his work, his responsibilities, his success, and how well he can handle pressure. Because of this, He naturally becomes sensitive to how the woman in his life sees him. If he feels like he is only appreciated when he is useful, entertaining, or emotionally available on demand, he starts feeling like love is conditional. But when he feels respected for simply being who he is, something inside him becomes stable. Respect shows in very small things. It's in how you talk to him when you disagree. It's in how you don't mock his dreams, even if they are still growing. It's in how you don't compare him to other men in a way that makes him feel less. And it's also in how you acknowledge his effort, not just his results. A man can work hard and still feel unnoticed, but when a woman sees that effort and values it, he feels emotionally validated in a deep way. Another important part of respect is giving him space to be himself without trying to constantly reshape him into someone else. Many men feel pressure to be enough in relationships, and when they sense that they are being accepted as they are, rather than being constantly corrected or changed, they start opening up more naturally. They feel less defensive and more connected. When a man feels respected, he becomes more loyal emotionally, not because he is controlled, but because he feels valued. He starts sharing more of his inner world. He starts including you in his thoughts, his plans, and even his worries. Because respect creates trust, and trust creates emotional attachment that grows quietly but deeply over time. And here is something many people overlook. A man will often stay longer where he feels respected, even more than where he feels temporary excitement. Excitement fades, but respect builds identity. It tells him, "You are enough as you are, and I see you." And that message hits deeper than words of love sometimes. So when a woman respects a man's identity, not just his role in her life, but who he truly is as a person, she becomes more than just someone he likes. She becomes someone he values, protects emotionally, and naturally stays connected to. One of the quiet reasons a man can become deeply attached to a woman is not because she is hard to understand in a confusing way, but because she is naturally alive, layered, and emotionally real. She is not flat, robotic, or always the same energy every single day. Instead, she has moods, depth, and personality shifts that feel human, and this creates something powerful in his mind: curiosity. A man is not only drawn to comfort, he is also drawn to emotional movement. When everything feels too predictable, the mind slowly stops paying attention. But when a woman has natural emotional variety, she can be playful one moment, thoughtful the next, calm at times, and expressive in others. It keeps him mentally engaged. He doesn't feel like he has figured her out completely, and that keeps her interesting in a very natural way. This is not about being dramatic, inconsistent, or creating emotional confusion. It's not about sending mixed signals or playing games. It is about being real instead of rehearsed. A woman who laughs freely, expresses herself honestly, and doesn't hide her personality behind a controlled image feels refreshing. She reacts in a human way, not a forced way, and that honesty creates emotional texture in the connection. Men often remember women who felt alive around them. Not perfect, not predictable, but real. Someone who could talk deeply one day and joke around the next. Someone who can be serious when needed, but also light when the moment allows it. This emotional range creates a sense of presence that stays in his mind longer than simple routine interactions. Another important layer here is that emotional variety creates curiosity without effort. He starts wondering what your mood will be like today, how you will respond to something, or what side of your personality he will see next. This is not confusion, it is interest. And interest is what keeps attention alive over time. At the same time, this kind of emotional presence makes a man feel like the relationship is not boring or mechanical. It feels natural, like something that has energy in it. And when something has emotional energy, it becomes memorable. He doesn't just think about what you said, but how it felt to be around you in that moment. But the most important part is balance. This emotional unpredictability only works when it is grounded in authenticity, when it comes from your real personality, not from trying to act differently on purpose. Because real emotional depth is attractive, but forced behavior feels exhausting. A man can sense the difference more than you think. So when a woman is naturally expressive, emotionally alive, and not stuck in one fixed version of herself all the time, she becomes memorable. Not because she is confusing, but because she feels real. And in a world where many interactions feel predictable, the woman who feels real, layered, and naturally engaging stands out in a way that quietly holds his attention over time. There is a very powerful emotional balance that creates deep attraction in a man's mind, and it sits right between two extremes, being too available and being completely absent. When a woman understands this balance naturally, she becomes emotionally unforgettable. She doesn't chase a man, she doesn't beg for attention, and she doesn't build her entire emotional world around him. But at the same time, she is not cold, distant, or disconnected. She is present, calm, and emotionally steady. And that combination creates something very rare, value without pressure. When a woman chases too much, constantly texting first, always trying to keep the conversation alive, overgiving attention, or needing instant replies, it slowly changes the emotional dynamic. The man may still like her, but he stops feeling curiosity and starts feeling expectation. And expectation removes excitement, but when a woman doesn't chase, something different happens. He feels space. And in that space, he starts noticing her more. Human attention naturally leans toward what is not overly controlled or constantly available, but here is the important part. Not chasing does not mean disappearing emotionally. It does not mean playing games or acting uninterested. It means you are secure in yourself, you respond, you engage, you care, but you are not desperate for validation. You are not trying to prove your worth through constant effort. Instead, your energy says, I like you, but I also value myself. That quiet confidence is extremely attractive because it feels stable, not needy. At the same time, being present means you still show warmth. You still reply with interest when you talk. You still share moments, emotions, and attention, but in a balanced way. You are not pushing, you are not pulling too hard, you are simply flowing. And this emotional steadiness makes a man feel like he doesn't have to run away or catch up all the time. He feels free, but also connected. This balance creates a natural pull. When you are not chasing him, he starts leaning in more on his own. When you are not constantly available, he starts valuing your presence more. And when you are emotionally calm instead of reactive, he starts feeling a sense of respect toward your energy. Because deep down, people are drawn to what feels grounded, not chaotic. Another powerful effect of this dynamic is that it builds emotional curiosity. He starts wondering about you instead of assuming you will always be there in the same way every time. He starts noticing your value more clearly because it is not being forced into his attention every moment. And interestingly, this makes him invest more emotionally, not less. But presence is what keeps everything healthy, because absence alone can create distance, but presence with balance creates connection. When he feels that you are emotionally there when it matters, but not overwhelming or dependent, he begins to trust the space between you. And trust is what slowly turns casual interest into deeper emotional attachment. So the real power is not in chasing or disappearing, it is in staying grounded. You are available, but not dependent. You are caring, but not losing yourself. You are present, but not desperate. And that emotional balance is what makes a man naturally lean in, stay curious, and gradually become more emotionally invested without feeling pressured. At the deepest level, what every man quietly wants is not just attraction, not just fun conversations, and not even constant excitement. What he really wants is a space where he can finally stop performing. A place where he doesn't have to wear a strong face all the time, where he doesn't have to carefully choose every word, and where he doesn't feel like he is being measured every second. And when a woman gives him that space, something powerful begins to form between them. Most men move through life carrying pressure. They are expected to be strong, focused, successful, calm, and in control, even when they are not feeling any of those things inside. Because of that, they often hide parts of themselves, fear, stress, confusion, even softness. So when a man meets a woman who allows him to be fully human without turning his emotions into judgment or criticism, he starts feeling something rare, relief. This feeling of emotional relief is not loud. It doesn't come with big moments or dramatic expressions. It comes quietly in everyday interactions. It is in the way he can talk to you without filtering every sentence. It is in the way he can be quiet without feeling pressured to entertain. It is in the way he can express a weak moment without fearing that his value will decrease in your eyes. That kind of acceptance creates emotional safety at a very deep level. And when a man feels that he can be his true self around you, he starts opening up in ways he doesn't open up with everyone else. He shares more thoughts, he reveals more of his personality, he lets his guard down without even realizing it because his mind starts associating you with comfort instead of pressure. And once that association is formed, it becomes very hard for him to emotionally detach. Another powerful part of this is that he doesn't feel judged for his imperfections. He knows he doesn't have to be perfect to be accepted by you, and that removes a huge emotional weight from his mind. Instead of trying to impress you constantly, he starts feeling safe just being around you. And when effort turns into comfort, emotional attachment grows naturally. This kind of connection also builds trust in a very real way. Not the kind of trust that is only about loyalty, but the kind of trust that says, I can be myself here and still be valued. And that belief creates emotional dependence in a healthy sense because he starts seeing you as someone different from the rest of the world. Over time, this becomes something deeper than attraction. It becomes emotional home. Not a place he has to think carefully about how to behave, but a place where he can simply exist. And when a man finds a woman who gives him that feeling, he doesn't just enjoy her presence. He starts needing it in a natural, emotional way, because in the end, being loved for your strong side is common, but being accepted for your real side, your quiet side, your imperfect side, that is rare. And the woman who gives him that experience becomes unforgettable, not because she tries to hold him, but because she makes him feel completely himself. At the end of the day, love that runs deep is never built on loud effort or constant chasing. It grows quietly in the spaces where a man feels understood, respected, and emotionally free to be himself. When a woman brings emotional safety, natural respect, calm presence, real personality, and the ability to let him be authentic, something powerful starts to form without force. He doesn't just like her in a simple way, he begins to feel emotionally connected in a way that stays with him even in silence. But here is something important to remember. Real connection is never one-sided. It is not about trying to become perfect for someone or losing yourself to keep their attention. It is about creating a space where both people feel valued and real. When you stay grounded in your own identity, your own peace, and your own self-worth, the connection becomes healthier and stronger. Because true love doesn't grow from pressure, it grows from emotional balance. So instead of overthinking how to impress someone, focus more on how you feel about yourself in the connection. Are you being respected? Are you being seen? Are you still feeling like you? Because the strongest relationships are the ones where both people can breathe, not the ones where one person is constantly trying to prove something. If this message made sense to you, don't just keep it here in your thoughts. Reflect on it in your real life. Notice the patterns. Notice how you show up in your connections. And most importantly, notice what kind of energy you are allowing into your emotional space. And if you want more real, deep relationship insights like this, stay connected. Because understanding love is not about guessing, it's about learning how emotional connection truly works.